Break time and everybody is like also wanting to have a lovely cup of tea outside, and I understand the morning was quite busy, but let's delve into the next agenda here. And before that, let me congratulate Bhomik. I see him right here, and I saw you with your lovely baby and still attending to Anurag ji and all the guests. So heartiest congratulations to you, Bhomik, and your entire team for pulling in such an amazing fraternity of CSR experts, practitioners, leaders from NGOs, government, individuals, and it's great to see many friends. I think that is very touching. We have traveled together, we have worked together. It's my personal 3rd decade in the sector, and I don't know how many handshakes since morning. So thank you for bringing all the friends together as well, because in our own operational capacities, it's hardly any chance for us to step out and say hellos. So these hellos are also important. So I would please request people at the back there to please come and take your seats, and then we start with the session. So I thought, I was just thinking that what is it that we can offer, what is it that we can talk about, and someone please tell me how much time do I have before I start, because 10 minutes? Okay. So I was just trying to structure in terms of the topic given and what is it that we can discuss here and how I can, in the mandate given to me, the kind of case studies that we have from the work that we do in HCL Foundation, share with you. And if you look at the topic itself, creating sustainable cities and thriving villages, I think by itself is a much, much bigger agenda. It's huge as a topic. And I'll be wrong in saying that just as CSRs, we can bring about a big shift. So it's important for us to understand where are we in the bigger picture, who we are, and how much is it that we can realistically do and genuinely achieve. And in that context, I thought, if we could go back to the topic slide, please. I thought, let me rephrase a bit the topic, and I said, contribution of CSR in creating a shared future, sustainable cities and thriving villages. So that's a bit of shift that when I was doing my notes and I was looking at last decade, look where we are. Look how well we have blossomed. Look what a fraternity. I clearly remember when we used to have our few first symposiums in HCL Tech Grant when we had launched it in 2016, and we wanted to get handful of people. There were just about some 300, 200 people who would understand, and it was, handful of kind of recognizable faces. But look at what is happening here, the magic happening here. And I heard that yesterday was a mela where it was difficult to even put your feet on ground. So we have blossomed, we have grown, and this fraternity has become one of the biggest workforce in India. And one can congratulate on the kind of commitment that few people have had. I will give you some case study, of course. HCL Tech, which the company we are all representing here, and HCL Foundation is the CSR arm of that. It's almost like a 13 billion plus company with more than 60 nationalities working. And I'm also now taking charge of the global CSR, and I will once again say that it is the best practices of India, from India, which are guiding the global CSR agenda. Just before I came here, I finished a call with a very famous athlete from Australia, Jane Fleming, and we've been spending time together to further strengthen the practices in Australia for indigenous sports, because we started the grassroots sport in India, and there's so much to learn. So again, thanks to the National CSR Law, which actually provided resources, not only I would say, because of the company's revenue, etc., but to the larger fraternity out there who's been wanting to do genuine work. We've all been hearing SDGs. We are nearing 2030 agenda. That's going to be the big thing. I think next conclave of yours, Bhaumik, I would advise you if you should focus on SDGs and bring out, because it's not going to be far. We are going to sit in 25, and from there, it's going to be 5 years countdown. So let's start preparing for that if we really want to report to the 2030 agenda better. In HCL Foundation, we had mapped 10 years ago when we wrote down our strategy against each sustainable development goal, how we are going to contribute to the global reporting. And that is where I say that frameworks are important if we want to measure even anything that we are doing. It's important for us to really advocate towards the global advocacy and then see how we are faring against that within our small village strategy or a district strategy or state or national. And the vision and mission, of course, remain aligned. We are now able to report against each SDG in our value creation model, which I'll talk about the next slide. But before that, 6.5 million lives impacted, almost 72,000 acres of land greened already, with 81 billion liters of water conserved, and I'm happy to report that we measure the number of people that we work with who are living with disabilities. That's the spread across India. It only happens because of a very magical team. Almost 450 people behind this mission at HCL Foundation, joined with 200 partners, and happy to see many of you in the room here. Without you, this mission is impossible. So for today's talk, I thought we'll focus on 3 important aspects. That how do we do this? How is it possible for us to achieve the vision of sustainable cities and thriving villages in rural India? And where exactly CSR's focus could be? And these were the 3 contours that I thought I'll share with you, which have helped us with achieving the kind of milestones that we've been able to achieve, the kind of measurable impact that we've been able to achieve. And I would say it's also something from where we can scale up immensely. So it's public-private partnerships, nothing unknown to this group, but I'll share with you certain case studies that how it was done. Citizens' action and behavioral change, critical without which we can do nothing. And the technology-led innovation which CSR has given fuel to. Before that, let me talk about the value creation model that we spent hours and hours inside of HCL Foundation. And I know many people complain it's very difficult to get any funding from HCL Foundation, or it's very difficult to partner with HCL Foundation. They are a little mad about matrices and measurements and forms and everything. But good governance guides us, friends. We have a board to report to. We also have a ministry to report to. We also have the global SDG, UN SDG framework to report to. And without a joint governance system, it's very difficult. So at times, I always say, excuse us for our idiosyncrasy on matrices, but they're critical and they're important. And each day, each member of my team spends minimum 1 or 2 hours just studying and advancing. And also, we keep juggling ourselves a lot before we invest in any project or before we go ahead on design thinking that how is it going to really impact the directives that we have in the country and the population which is really falling in the gap. You see, I mean, there's so much happening. With so much happening, the impact ideally should be multiple times, but are we focused? Are we really communicating what we are doing? And are we reaching out to the ones who really need us? I mean, these are questions we keep asking ourselves almost each day. I'll give you how this value creation model is drawn. It's clearly input, the outputs aligned to SDGs, and then, of course, on the next page are outcomes. But let's stay on the output. I just want to give you 1 or 2 examples. If you take, for example, SDG 6, which is around water and clean, wash basically. You can see 164 gram panchayats are open defecation free, benefiting close to 600,000 people today that HCL Foundation has done. 28,976 people accessing safe and adequate drinking water, 1441 households, toilets constructed, and 243 water structures rejuvenated and created. So these are, what I'm saying is that we are able to map against each SDG. You can look at the no hunger goal, where you can see 64,000 children supported to combat malnutrition, 3,000, I mean, these are all digits which keep changing, but what I'm trying to say is that by having a value creation model, we are then able to look at all the inputs, the 14,000 crore, which we have invested over 10 years, we are able to break it down into different outputs, and then let's go to the outcomes. You can see, even if I see 63% increase in children supported to combat malnutrition, we are even looking at how we are changing in terms of our numbers or the impact, and malnutrition remains one of the biggest areas which is coming in the way of success. More than 40% population still is malnourished, and anemia still is a big challenge. So before we get into high visible projects where we are talking about big branding, and let's go to our rural populations, urban slum population, and if many of us even join hands, I think this problem still remains a big, big challenge. So one is, all I wanted to give you was the chart saying that it's possible to measure, but it takes a lot of MIS behind it. Going ahead, let's go to what I was saying, public-private partnerships, that it is critical, important for us to have MOUs in place. I think HCL Foundation has more than some 50-odd MOUs with different government departments, with different secretariats, with different state and national bodies within our area of disaster risk management, within health, education, environment, livelihoods, skill development. Without this, it wouldn't have been possible. So I'll give you some examples within public-private partnerships, the micro headings, so as to say that food secure world is a big challenge. And I did speak about malnutrition cannot be achieved without public-private partnership, because your PDS system, the entire resource comes from government. How do we really take it ahead and strengthen it? Going ahead, I just want to say that all these pictures are from HCL Foundation's own projects. Little project here, Life Connect, integrated approach to improve healthcare access and prevent maternal and, basically a maternal and child health program in Nagaland. Huge success, but here we see the partnership of mothers, the partnership from government and HCL Foundation, and of course the NGO, where you can see the food is indigenous, food is locally researched, and food is cooked locally, and nothing new. What I'm trying to say is that we need many more people in this mission if we actually want to declare India a food secure country. Going ahead, another example where nutrition gardens, and I'm taking examples from semi-urban, peri-urban, rural communities, not all the work, but just some case studies for you, that by creating a nutrition garden, it is possible to give livelihood as well as enhanced income, as well as nutrition to the families within, and we have done multiple such nutrition gardens in our rural community development programs in Samuday and Grant. Going ahead. It's also how much area do we bring under green cover, because food security is just not about farming, it's just not about providing fresh cooked meals, it is also about larger conservation efforts which really need to be enhanced as a part of our larger efforts of community management. Going ahead, I think the second big strategy point that is critical for us is citizens' action and behavioral change. Without that, and many of you work on this aspect beautifully, I think NGOs lead this particular pillar. I just want to take few examples, like for example, if I talk about unleashing the Yuva potential of Viksit Bharat mission, happy to share that we have 75,000 youth who have been trained in core employability and 21st century skills. There is this patented Skill Rath initiative in collaboration with ITIs where we do counseling door to door and bring them back to workforce, the lost youth which has dropped out from the mainstream education, convergence with government through ITIs. I know many of you could argue that ITIs are kind of failing and they are not, but they are still one of the biggest asset that we have for youth, and it's critical for us not to duplicate any funding. I see in CSR that a lot of centers get launched. We start doing parallel trainings, we start setting up parallel centers, and then many of these ITIs in the state of dilapidation, which is not good. We've tried to revive these ITIs categorically, and those examples are there. And of course, then aligning with Skill India mission, again, linking the public-private partnership model and citizens' action. Why I've put this in citizens' action? Unless youth take charge of their own lives, unless youth come forward and say that we will do it, all these programs will fail. So what is it that we do here is that we recharge them, we kind of work with them quite closely in having their own motivation and then work towards life goals. Community collaboration and culture, I think one of the biggest strengths that we have is handicrafts. One of the biggest strengths that we have is artisans of India. I see very minimal CSR resource going on this. We have taken it as a mission. There is this portal called My eHeart, powered by HCL Foundation. You can look up. Today there are more than 1,000 products made by different artisans from all over the country, where we have linked them with the e-commerce market, artisan to customer approach. And happy to share that this year saris from India were in London Museum, which actually got livelihoods to so many artisans who weave them. And this is also linking them with technology like Kosha, where you can actually understand that this is hand-woven work and not otherwise. Another big appeal to the CSR sector, that pay attention to what we have, the indigenous, and let's look at that. Of course, water, neither without public-private action nor without citizens' collectives can we work on water. State of water bodies, not unknown to many of us. Happy to say that we have already rejuvenated more than 200 water structures, water bodies in rural and urban, for which HCL Foundation was given the National Award, Best in Industry, by the Ministry of Jal Shakti. This is right in Noida. Most welcome, whoever is working in that area. Many of such water bodies full of life now. So how does it happen? How do we really bring together? How do we really kind of, have a whole lot of collectives? You can see volunteerism, you can see a lot of people from HCL. HCL has 220,000 people, and we clock 100,000 hours per year, them coming out and working with communities, not only helping out with money, but helping out with their hearts and hands. Going ahead, technology, clearly very important aspect, which I think we start doing a lot of work, but we approach it conventionally. I'm not saying conventions are bad, but then there are latest methods, there is new technology. Some examples, you'll see STEM. Around the cities where HCL Tech has presence, we have this beautiful discovery science centers, and children from government schools come and put their hands on them. Robotics for girls. I think just 2 days ago, we had one team winning the national robotics as well, and they come from highly disadvantaged sections of the community. Going next. Again, you can see the drone technology being used by farmers for seed dispersal, etc. Introduction of these technologies is critical for us, especially in certain areas where production is quite compromised. Again, I did talk about Kosha already, but authentication, I think I'm getting a time up symbol, but let me just conclude by, we go next. I think there are a few examples from technology and sports all over, the infrastructure work, but let me kind of start concluding and saying that the essence of everything that we do lies in these three strategies. I'm repeating: public-private partnerships, citizens collective, and we definitely add the value of technology-led innovation. Friends, what I want to share is that while there is a lot of charm and glamour which is emerging, I can see in CSR, our success lies in going to the grassroots, making making the communities a part of us and us becoming a part of them and having participatory methods of working, which means that we continue to do the hard work, which means we continue to travel our villages, which also means that we do not ever lose our roots. I know corporates are a very charming place to be in, but we are not meant to be always seated in boardrooms and conference rooms and presenting these big decks. I think our success is still, and there's so much unmet need still in the country where we all belong and we need to be looking at. So with that, let me leave you with a short 1-minute video and conclude my speech here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.